The grand arrival platform of the royal cruiser hummed with quiet power. Sapphire floor lights traced slow circles, and tall crystal columns glowed like cold dawn. Princess Alara stood near the edge of the docking field with her hands folded. Behind her back, trying to look steady, her silver tail twitched once, then twice, betraying nerves she could not show to the watching court officials. They formed a half-moon behind her, long robes sweeping the floor. Every one of them waited. To judge the first formal meeting between their kingdom and the newcomers from Earth, the princess inhaled, counting to 4, then breathed out to the same slow rhythm. Composure, she told herself. Calm heart, calm mind. The deep clang of magnetic clamps echoed across the bay. A human dropship, small and dark, settled on the platform. White steam curled from vents as the landing gear locked. Alara felt the weight of history in that sound. She was only 19 cycles old, yet today she carried the face of her people. The side hatch slid open with a soft hiss. A single human stepped out. He was tall by her race's measure, though still shorter than many royal guards. His armor, plates were gray and plain, marked only by a thin stripe, the color of rust. He tucked his helmet beneath one arm and surveyed the area with calm brown eyes. Then, catching sight of the princess, he bowed from the waist. The motion was neat and respectful. His voice carried across the gap, even through the gentle whine of engines winding down. Soldier Caleb Ramos, representative escort from Earth Defense Command, he said. The words were clear, not hurried. His accent was soft, almost musical. To Alara's ears, she returned the formal greeting of her world. Moving her right fist to her left shoulder, she dipped her head just enough to show dignity without subservience. I am Princess Alara of the Sapphire Dynasty. Welcome aboard our home among the stars. Inside, she worried her tail might flick. Again, she forced it still. Her tutors had warned her that humans read body language differently. Better to appear serene, Caleb crossed the distance at an easy pace. Each step clicked on the metal tiles. Behind Alara, court scribes recorded everything. On glowing tablets, ministers whispered about posture and protocol. Alara heard their murmurs like insects in a garden. She ignored them and focused on the human now standing 2 paces away. Your Highness, thank you for receiving me, he said. His tone held. Respect, but no fear, no trembling. That difference interested her. Please, walk with me, she replied. Our council awaits in the throne chamber. She turned toward the main corridor. Caleb fell in beside her at exactly the correct distance. Close enough to speak, far enough to grant space. Such subtle courtesy surprised her. The corridor stretched like a river of blue light. Holographic. Star maps drifted above their heads, showing nearby trade routes and fleets. Alara spoke of each point as they passed. Her voice, usually airy, felt dry. She forced a small smile, but wondered if it looked forced. Caleb listened with genuine curiosity, nodding now and then. When the princess described the Dyson gardens that fed the whole cruiser, he whistled under his breath. Your engineers must be brilliant, he said. I would enjoy meeting them if protocol allows. It may, she replied, amused that his first praise went to workers instead of nobility. Such focus on common talent was rare in her court. She liked it. Footsteps echoed behind them, the officials pursuing like shadows. Alara recognized Counselor Varick's thin cough, an omen that he would soon give unwanted advice. She quickened her pace, guiding Caleb toward a side passage lined with crystal fountains. Multicolored fish glided within the clear tubes there. Scales, making shifting patterns of light. This is beautiful, Caleb said, slowing to watch the fish. His boyish wonder eased the tension inside her chest. My sister back home keeps a reef tank. These fish have the same calm effect. They remind me to breathe, Alara admitted, the words escaping before she could weigh them. Strange that she felt safe enough to share that small truth. Caleb glanced at her, empathy in his eyes. Important skill on any stage, he said. Softly, for a moment, they simply watched the fish swirl. Silence wrapped them, and the princess felt her heart steady. No court officer dared interrupt the brief pause. Even Counselor Varric lingered at the entrance. Huffing but silent, Lara continued the tour, leading the human through an archway of translucent stone. Sunlight from an artificial star warmed the grand garden beyond. Tall blue-leaf trees arched. Overhead, and flowers the color of sunrise grew in tidy rings. 2 royal guards stepped forward, silver armor gleaming. They saluted the princess, then Caleb returned the salute crisply, and the guards exchanged impressed looks, respect bridged. The species as they walked the winding garden path. Ilara noticed Caleb kept his hands visible, palms open. Some diplomat must have coached him on alien etiquette. Open hands meant no weapon, no threat. Such studying for her sake touched her more than she expected. "May I ask something personal?" Caleb said after a quiet stretch. "You may, Ilara," replied, curiosity piqued. "Are you nervous about today?" "I would be in your place." The question was direct yet gentle. Honesty felt right. "Yes," she said. "It is one thing to train for diplomacy, another to perform it. Composure can be fragile." Caleb's smile was warm. "My drill sergeant always said, fear shows we care about doing well. It's how we carry it that matters." Those words settled over Ilara like a calm breeze. She realized she had not twitched her tail in several minutes. They reached a lift that rose to the throne chamber. Lara paused before the doors. Behind them, golden light flickered her family, her future, her people's judgment. She looked. "Hey, Caleb, will you stand with me?" "Of course," he said without hesitation. She stepped into the lift. The doors closed. Soft music played, a ceremonial piece meant to inspire courage. Ilara folded her hands again, but this time the gesture felt natural, not forced. Caleb stood beside her, silent support. The lift began to rise, and with every meter the princess felt both responsibility and strength grow. When the doors opened, a hush fell over the vast chamber. 1,000 colored lanterns floated above tiered balconies. Nobles in shimmering cloaks watched from every level. At the far end, the twin thrones waited, her mother, the queen on the left, her father the king on the right. They studied the pair. Who walked forward? One royal daughter, one human soldier. Ilara moved with steady grace down the long jade carpet. Caleb matched her pace. The crowd whispered. She could feel their eyes, heavy as stones, but her heart did not race. She recalled the fish, the breathing, and the simple kindness of a stranger who treated her like an equal. When they reached the required distance, Ilara stopped and bowed. Caleb bowed too, mirroring her depth as best he could. She straightened and spoke, her voice clear. "Honored rulers and esteemed guests," she said, "I present Caleb Ramos of Earth, who comes in peace and respect. Let all see that trust begins with one honest meeting." The words echoed through the hall. Caleb lifted his gaze, meeting the queen's eyes with quiet resolve. And in that moment, all the princess's fears slipped away. She stood tall, calm, and ready for whatever would come next. Princess Ilara and Caleb stand side by side on the jade carpet while the chamber settles. The queen's jeweled hand rises, and all voices fall quiet. She thanks Caleb for coming so far, then speaks in careful Earth's common, a language she has, practiced only in private lessons. Caleb bows again and answers with the same respect, his tone warm but never bold. Seeing his gentle confidence, the nobles exchange curious looks. Humans were rumored to be brash. This soldier is steady as a stone in a river. Counselor Varric steps forward next, tall and thin, like a blade of winter grass. He announces that, by council order, the princess will lead Caleb on a tour of critical stations. The goal, he explains, is to show their new friend the best of Sapphire Dynasty science and culture. Ilara hears the unsaid words. The council also wants to watch her every move. Her muscles tighten. She must not stumble. One misstep could feed whispers that she is too young for high duty. Caleb hears the stiffness in the counselor's voice. As they walk toward the side exit, he leans closer and says softly, "Your court seems very proud. I'll do my best not to offend anyone by accident." Ilara gives a tiny nod, glad for his awareness. She answers just as quietly, "And I will try not to offend them on purpose." The simple joke startles a small laugh from both of them. The first spark of ease in the long day ahead. They enter a wide corridor, where glowing star maps form living patterns above the floor. Every stellar line shifts with real-time data, showing cargo paths and patrol routes. Tech officers line the walls, typing reports into floating screens. Ilara explains each sector and its meaning. As she speaks, she keeps her voice calm, but her eyes flick now and then to the dozen council scribes following behind. Quills scratch on tablets, recording her every word. Caleb studies the maps with childlike wonder. On Earth, he says, we use two-dimensional charts for training pilots, but this is like reading the sky itself. His praise sounds sincere, not diplomatic fluff. Lara's ears warm, pleased, though she struggles to hide the feeling. She gestures at a bright red route weaving through trade space. That lane feeds 12 worlds with food, she explains. Guard it like a heartbeat. Caleb nods and asks two quick, smart questions about escort patterns. Officers nearby brighten at the chance to answer. Within moments, the mood lifts. Experts love when outsiders respect their craft. They move on to the Dyson Gardens.
Artificial.
Sunlight pours down from a ring of mirrors, warming rows of fruit vines and grain fields. Crews in light uniforms harvest ripe produce and load baskets onto hover carts. A sweet smell fills the air, a mix of honey and cedar. Ilara explains how the gardens recycle every drop of water and every breath of carbon. Caleb takes a deep breath and says it reminds him of late summer orchards back home. He then crouches to help a worker pick 3 bright blue berries that have fallen on the walkway. The worker's face lights up at the small kindness, catching Ilara's heart beats. Steadier. Kindness, she thinks, may be the strongest armor. The tour reaches the forward observatory, a dome of clear crystal looking out onto deep space. A gasp escapes Caleb when he sees the twin moons of a nearby gas giant hanging like pearls in black. Velvet, your ship has the best window seat in the galaxy, he murmurs. Ilara knows the sight well, yet she enjoys it more through his fresh eyes. The council scribes catch up, but they whisper less now. Even they are chilled by the beauty. Outside, while Caleb gazes outward, Counselor Varric glides forward with a small tablet. He speaks in the princess's native tongue, assuming the human cannot understand. Your Highness, he says, his voice thin but sharp. Remember to open doors with your right hand. Left means disdain. Ilara bristles inside. She has practiced etiquette since childhood. Still she thanks him politely, Varik, then addresses Caleb in Earth Common. Soldier, this corridor leads to engineering. Please observe, but do not touch. The words are correct, yet the tone carries frost. Caleb responds with a crisp, yes, Counselor, but his eyes flick down. Ilara sees the slightest shift in his jaw. He has felt the hidden bite. They continue to the engineering bay. Titanic engines hum, bright lines of power pulsing along conduits. Chief Engineer Tala greets them, goggles perched on her forehead. She speaks fast, her excitement bubbling over. As she demonstrates a plasma reactor model, she hands Ilara a slim control rod. The moment calls for a ceremonial gesture. The princess must place the rod in a holster slot with her right hand. Nerves tug at Ilara's mind. Too many eyes, too much pressure. She hesitates and without thinking reaches with her left hand. The rod slides in just fine, but a hush drops like cold. Rain, Counselor Varric's thin cough, breaks the silence. Several nobles whisper into sleeves. Heat rushes to Ilara's cheeks. She has made the very mistake he warned against. Caleb senses the tension. Before any critic can voice reproach, he clears his throat and asks Tala an urgent question. Chief, could you explain how your containment field converts excess heat into thrust? His tone is bright with curiosity. Tala's eyes spark. She loves that subject. She turns away from the holster, launching into a passionate lecture. The officials are forced to follow her explanation or risk looking ignorant. Murmur fades. Lara exhales, the storm passing over her. After the demonstration, Caleb falls in step with the princess again. His voice drops to a private level. 4. What it's worth, he says, with a gentle grin. You handled that perfectly. Mistakes are just lessons with poor timing. Ilara should scold him for humor, but instead a soft laugh escapes. She thanks him, this time letting gratitude show. The tour concludes at the Crystal Fountains corridor, the same place they paused earlier with the fish. The court officials disperse to file reports. Only Counselor Varric remains, hovering like a shadow. He bows stiffly and announces he will deliver a summary to the Queen. Then he departs, robes swishing. Caleb watches him leave and whispers, "Does he ever smile?" Ilara bites back a grin. If he does, the universe may tip over. They stroll along the fountains. The fish glide in circles, tails flashing gold. A few crew members pass and nod respect to their princess and the visiting soldier. No one carries tablets, no one writes notes. For the first time all day, Ilara feels free to speak without weighing each syllable. My mother once told me, she says that composure is not the absence of feeling, but the art of guiding feeling in the right direction. Caleb reflects on that, then replies, "My father said almost the same about courage. It's not the lack of fear, but deciding something else matters more." Their words meet like two streams mixing into one river. They pause at a bench shaped like a crescent moon. Overhead, the artificial sky fades towards soft evening hues, programmed to help crops rest. Silence stretches, but it is a restful silence. Ilara realizes she has not thought about her tale in an hour. She turns toward Caleb. Tomorrow, the council holds formal talks. "Will you stand with me again?" she asks. Caleb answers without delay. "Wherever you need me." As they rise to return to their quarters, distant chimes signal shift change across the cruiser. Light dims to twilight blues. Somewhere deep in the hull, engines rumble, steady and true. Princess Ilara feels the same quiet power settle in her chest. Today, she toured her own ship with new eyes. Tomorrow, she will face her council with new strength, thanks to one human soldier and the unexpected friendship growing between them. Princess Ilara woke early to prepare for the council meeting. Soft blue lamps filled her chamber, and quiet harp notes drifted from hidden speakers. She practiced a steady breath and smoothed the folds of her formal sash. Outside her window, the twin moons slowly slipped behind the gas giant, painting the stars a pale gold. Today would set the tone for all future talks with Earth. Ilara told herself to stay calm. Though a low flutter sat in her chest, Caleb was waiting in the antechamber when she arrived. He wore a freshly polished flight jacket, plain except for his rust-colored service stripe. He greeted her with a polite nod that somehow felt friendly rather than stiff. "Ready to face a room of important people?" he asked. Ilara's tail gave a small twitch of humor.
Ace.
"As ready as anyone with 1,000 eyes on her," she replied. Together, they walked toward the council sphere, their footsteps echoing lightly through bright halls. Halfway there, an odd tremor ran beneath the deck plates. Lights flickered, and the soothing harp music cut out. Ilara paused, frowning. "Maintenance work?" she wondered aloud. Caleb looked up at the ceiling, listening. Second tremor came, stronger and sharper. Then red strobes erupted along the corridor, and a voice blared across the intercom. "Security alert. A known assault craft in docking ring 4. All personnel to defense stations." The calm morning shattered like glass. Guards sprinted past, weapons ready. Lara's first instinct was to hurry to her parents, but she remembered her duty to her people. She tapped her wrist. "Come. This is Princess Ilara," she said firmly. "Status report," Static answered. The intruders had jammed communications. Her calm heart mantra faltered. Caleb touched her elbow. "We need to move, and quickly," he said, eyes sharp but voice level. "Pirates often cut main corridors first. A service route will be safer." Ilara nodded, letting him guide her toward a narrow maintenance hatch. She overrode the lock with her royal code, and they slipped into a dim passage lit only by thin yellow strips. Dust motes drifted in the stale air. Metal bulkheads hummed with the power of the massive engines nearby. The route was tight, forcing them to walk single file. Ilara first, Caleb close behind. She braced one hand against the wall to keep balance as the ship shook again. A few yards in, they found 3 frightened crew members huddled near a junction box. One, a young technician with grease on her cheeks, almost cried with relief when she saw the princess. They boarded the cargo decks and sealed blast doors, she said, voice trembling. They took hostages. Lara crouched to meet the woman's eyes. You are safe with us, she promised. Follow our lead. Stay quiet and breathe slow. Caleb helped the crew stand and whispered encouragement. The small group pressed on through the winding tunnel at a crossroads. Caleb paused to study a flickering systems map on the wall. The pirates likely want supply crates and maybe a high-value hostage, he muttered. Lara answered. Then I may already be on their list. She forced a calm smile. Caleb's brow furrowed in concern, but he simply nodded. All the more reason to keep moving, he said. The path forked. They chose the left branch, heading toward the auxiliary command post. There Alara could try to restore internal comms. Suddenly distant voices echoed from the right branch. Tyra struff, laughing, unaware of anyone hiding in the ducts. Caleb gestured for silence and motioned the group to crouch behind a power conduit. The princess's heart hammered. She counted 3 shadows passing, then 4. The pirates wore jagged armor plates, crudely painted. One carried an energy cutter that fizzed with blue sparks. Alara pressed her back to the cold steel, willing herself not to breathe too loudly. After the footsteps faded, Caleb signaled all clear. They resumed their climb, moving faster now. At last the passage opened into a cramped control nook lit by a single green emergency lamp. Broken circuits hissed. Lara slid behind the console, fingers flying across unfamiliar keys while Caleb watched the corridor. She rerouted power to a short-range transmitter. Static filled the speakers. Then the voice of Chief Engineer Tala crackled through, faint but clear. Princess, do you read? Relief washed over Alara. She briefed Tala on their position and learned that pirates held the main reactor hall and demanded surrender within an hour. Caleb listened, then laid out a quick plan. They control the reactor, they can threaten an overload, he said. But they'll need to keep the safety relay active to avoid destroying themselves. If we disable that relay from here, their leverage vanishes, Alara considered. I trained on these systems, she said. I can reach the relay line, but someone must guard this door. Caleb tightened the strap on his rifle. I've got the door, he replied without hesitation. Lara crawled under the console, sparks raining on her shoulders. Dim light glinted off her silver scales. She located the relay conduit and began disconnecting safeties in a precise sequence. Her breath came fast, but she remembered her mother's lessons. Steady hands reflect a steady spirit. Outside, Caleb heard boots in the corridor. He raised his weapon but kept silent, trusting the princess to finish. Shouts echoed pirates searching cabins nearby. Ilara completed the last bypass. Indicators flashed red, then green, signifying the reactor could no longer be overloaded remotely. She emerged, face streaked with dust, and gave Caleb a nod. He smiled with clear pride. But their victory was brief. A pirate squad clattered into view. Caleb stepped forward, issuing a firm command. Halt, he said in the common tongue. This deck is sealed. Pirates sneered and raised weapons, before tensions snapped into violence. Alara lifted her staffa, ceremonial rod she carried for the council. She tapped a wall plate, and hidden floodlights burst on, blinding the attackers. Caleb fired 2 stun bursts into the ceiling for noise, not harm. The pirates stumbled, stunned by sound and light. The crew members pushed crates to block the passage. Move, Caleb urged. The group fled down another service crawl, pirates shouting behind. They reached a pressured door and sealed it. Ilara keyed a lock code that fused the mechanism. Pursuit stopped, muffled curses fading. Breathless, the princess leaned against the wall. Caleb placed a calm hand on her shoulder. You just saved half the ship, he said. She shook her head. We saved it, she corrected, voice soft but firm. Chief Tala's voice came again. Reactor secure. Pirates retreating from engineering. Cheers echoed faintly through the line. Alara allowed herself a small, genuine smile. Caleb matched it, yet alarms still rang, and they knew more work waited. But in that moment, strength replaced fear, and trust burned bright between princess and soldier. Together they headed for the next junction, ready to guide more crew to safety. The corridor ahead stretched long and uncertain, but neither hesitated. With every step, the flutter in Alara's chest became a steady beat like the engine pulse of her great ship, strong and unbroken despite the storm. Princess Alara and Caleb hurried along a dim service hall while alarms moaned above. Chief Engineer Tala had confirmed the reactors were safe, but pirates still held the Grand Hall with dozens of hostages. The pair reached a junction where security, Chief Orin armor, dented and visor cracked, waited. They set up jammers inside the hall, he said, pointing at a flickering map. Red dots ringed the hostages. Blue guard icons waited outside. We can't coordinate a clean strike. Ilara studied the layout. Expect an assault through the main arch. Caleb traced a narrow duct on the display. I drop from the ceiling, make noise, and pull them south. While they chase me, the princess leads the civilians out a side gate. When they're clear, guards sweep in. Orin eyed them both, uneasy. Ilara met his look. Do it, she said. Her voice was calm steel. They armed with only stun pistols and 2 smoke canisters, enough to confuse, not kill. Caleb gave Alara a tiny cum bead, tuned to a short-range channel that might slip past the pirate jammers. Stay on channel 2. I'll be in your ear, he said. Alara fixed it behind one frilled ear, breathing slow. An auxiliary lift carried them toward the hall, but at deck 22, Caleb popped the ceiling hatch and pulled Ilara into the crawl space. The lift continued upward empty, throwing off any watchers. In the hot duct, metal ribs scraped their knees. Through slats they glimpsed chambers scrolling past. A library. A meditation room, where Counselor Varric paced in anxious circles. Ilara felt a flicker of pity. Fear grips everyone differently. They reached a grate above the grand hall. Below, frightened crew and families huddled near the throne dais, pirate rifles trained on them. Their leader a tall, reptilian with patchwork. Armor barked orders. Caleb held up 2 fingers, tossed in the smoke canisters, and dropped after them. White clouds billowed, pirates cursed and fired wild shots. Alara vaulted down next, landing on a balcony rail. Her clear voice sliced through confusion. Citizens, follow me. Stay low. Move now. Startled hostages looked up, saw her royal sash, and surged toward the indicated side gate where her code had just unlocked a hidden servo door. Caleb sprinted between pillars, drawing fire. Stun bolts sizzled past. He slid behind a marble statue, tossed a flare that flashed blinding light, then darted left. 3 pirates chased, weapons crackling. Every second they chased him was another second civilians needed to escape. In the smoke, Alara guided groups of 10 through the gate into a service corridor where blue-armored guards waited. She kept her voice steady. Keep walking, you are safe. A toddler stumbled. Alara scooped the child up and pressed on. The cum in her ear crackled Caleb's voice, breathless but controlled. 30 hostages out, 40. Almost done. When the hall finally emptied, Alara whispered, Phase 2. Chief Orin's squads burst through 3 doorways, stun weapons humming. Pirates fell fast, caught between arcs of blue fire. Caleb tackled the reptilian leader. They rolled, armor scraping stone. The reptile swung a claw, scoring Caleb's pauldron, but the human locked an arm around the thick neck and triggered his stun pistol. The pirate went limp. Silence settled. Smoke drifting under the lanterns, guards secured prisoners and slapped signal beacons on the deactivated jammers. Internal comms bloomed back to life, and the Queen's grateful voice filled every speaker crew of the Sapphire. Dynasty, you have prevailed. Honor to you all. Medical down corridors, medical teams arrived. Ilara handed the rescued toddler to relieved parents. The child pressed a tiny silver charm into her palm in thanks. Caleb sat while a medic sealed the scorch on his shoulder. He winced once, then grinned at the princess. Just cosmetic. She traced the dent with gentle fingers. A brave mark, she said quietly. Counselor Varric appeared, bowing low and stammering apologies for doubting their plan. Lara accepted with polite grace. There was no room for grudges tonight. Chief Orin reported that a few pirates had fled in escape pods. Ilara ordered rescue ships to check each pod for any wounded. Crew first. Let Royal Patrol chase the raiders later, she said. Once the bustle calmed, Ilara and Caleb walked the length of the now quiet grand hall. Dust and scorch marks scarred the marble, yet the lanterns still glowed, soft and steady. The princess fastened the child's charm to her sash. "This will remind me why a crown exists," she murmured. Caleb nodded. To protect, never just to shine. They reached the balcony where the raid had begun. Below, crew reset overturned benches and swept broken glass. "There will be debriefs and diplomacy," Ilara sighed, turning to her companion. "But after today, I feel ready." Caleb offered a small salute. "Wherever you stand, I'll stand too." Outside the crystal windows, the gas giant's curved horizon brightened with approaching dawn, painting the stars soft pink. The cruisers sailed on, blemished yet unbowed. Danger still lurked beyond sensor range, but Ilara felt calm at last. Heart steady, tail still. She walked forward beside the human soldier, who had become her truest ally. Both ready for the next trial the galaxy would send, Princess Ilara did not rest long after the rescue.
Out the dance.
Gentle light slipped through her chamber windows while she read fresh reports from every deck. Engineers had sealed hull gashes, medics tended to bruised crew, and guards escorted the captured pirates' 2 holding cells. Still tension clung to the air like dust. When a chime announced that the Royal Council would meet within the hour, Ilara smoothed her sash, fixed the small child's silver charm at her shoulder, and walked. Out with quiet resolve, in the council dome, lanterns cast soft gold rings over curved rows of seats. King Theron and Queen Leora sat upon twin thrones, looking tired but proud. Counselor Varric stood near a hologram of the ship, tapping anxious fingers against his tablet. Caleb entered beside Ilara, armor patched yet bearing the fresh dent on. His pauldron like a badge, whispers rose from nobles. Some praised the human's bravery. Others worried his presence had invited danger. Ilara stepped forward, tail held steady, lifted one hand for silence. She spoke first of courage, shown by every deck worker, then of lessons learned. "Did yesterday prove that trust between species saves lives," she said, voice clear. "Let us strengthen that trust today." She invited Caleb to address the room. He bowed and spoke simple words that carried weight. "My people want partnership, not power," he said. "When pirates threatened you, I only repaid the kindness you showed me." His honesty softened many wary faces, though Varric's brow remained furrowed. Before a debate could deepen, a security aide rushed in with urgent news. A scrambled transmission from a passing merchant vessel warned that the same pirate clan, shamed by defeat, had gathered reinforcements 3 frigates, and a heavy cruiser stolen from an old warlord. They would reach Sapphire Dynasty space before nightfall, seeking revenge and richer loot. The hall filled with alarmed murmurs. Varric snapped his tablet shut. "You must pull back to the inner moons," he insisted, among the gas giants. "Rings and wait for help." Caleb shook his head. "Running only shows fear and gives them time to choose the battlefield," he said. Slara agreed. "Our people cannot abandon outer colonies that rely on us for food and medicine," she added. An argument flared, nobles splitting between caution and courage. Queen Leora raised her scepter and called for solutions, not fear. Caleb stepped to a star map and highlighted the twin moons that circled close together like dancers. Tidal forces between them created violent magnetic storms once every cycle. "The storm window opens in 3 hours," he explained. "If we draw the pirate fleet into that corridor, the charged fields will scramble their shields. Our weapons, tuned to the right frequency, will stay stable." Chief Engineer Tala, patched in by confirmed the theory. A rapid recalibration of emitters could make Sapphire Dynasty systems immune to the storm's chaos while enemy ships would sputter. Varric objected that such a maneuver risked the cruiser itself. Ilara countered with calm logic. "Risk exists in all choices," she said. "This plan protects our borders and shows the galaxy we do not bow to raiders." King Theron considered a long moment, then nodded. "Let it be done," he declared. The council echoed his assent, though some voices wavered. Preparations began at once. Engine crews poured into control pits, adjusting power curves. Techs uploaded new field equations to every turret and shield node. Caleb and Alara toured each gunnery bay together, speaking encouragement to nervous crews. At Station 5, a young cadet asked if the princess truly believed they could win. Alara placed a gentle hand on the cadet's shoulder. "The first gear in any machine," she said. "Turn it, and the rest will follow." The forward armory, Caleb worked with Security Chief Oren to retrofit pulse cannons. Sparks rained while they swapped crystal arrays. Varric entered, watching silently. When Caleb finished a final weld, he met the counselor's gaze. "I know you doubt me," he said quietly, "but our goals align. Keep the princess and her people safe." Varric sighed, worry lines deep. "Do not fail," he replied, softer than Caleb expected. "Progress, perhaps, in the language of stern diplomats." Time slipped like water. As the chronometers ticked toward the storm's opening, Ilara visited the Grand Hall once more. Crews had repaired shattered lanterns. The marble gleamed, though faint scorched shadows remained. She placed her palm on one dark scar. "A reminder of yesterday fuel for today," she whispered. Caleb found her there, offered a cup of sweet root tea, and they shared a quiet moment before battle orders rang across the ship. Bridge's lights dimmed to combat amber. On the main display, 3 red blips slid into scan-range pirate frigates, sporting mismatched hull plates. The stolen cruiser followed, its bigger mass trailing like a hungry shark. Within communications, angry threats spilled from the raider commander, demanding surrender and tribute. Alara stood tall on the command dais. "Tell them," she said to the cum officer, "that the Sapphire dynasty does not surrender. Invite them to a lesson." The cruiser pivoted, engines flaring blue, and accelerated toward the twin moons. Pirate ships, smelling easy prey, gave chase. Caleb monitored shield harmonics, calling out micro-adjustments. Chief Tala's numbers streamed across screens, showing steady power flow. Varric took station at tactical oversight, his earlier doubt now channeled into sharp coordination with defense batteries as they neared the magnetic corridor. Arcs of purple lightning danced between the moons, crackling through empty space like a living net. Lara felt every hair on her arms rise with static. "Field calibration?" she asked. "Green across the board," Caleb answered. Behind them, smaller supply ships evacuated civilian lanes, guided by Royal Patrol cutters. The stage was clear. The pirate-led frigate entered the storm first. At once its shields flared white and collapsed. The vessel lurched as control systems flickered. Gunas on the Sapphire dynasty opened fire, blue pulses lancing true. Armor plates shattered. The frigate spun, flames trailing. Its sister ships tried to pull wide, but turbulence caught them, scrambling sensor locks. Caleb directed turret rotations with clipped commands. Ilara relayed target priorities to Allied patrol craft joining the fray. Violent light painted the void-purple storms and blue lances mixing like cosmic art. Yet inside the cruiser, shock absorbers kept decks steady. Crew worked with calm focus, moving as one living organism. Counselor Varric's voice, once cold, now rang with urgent pride as he guided flank batteries. He even shouted encouragement to junior officers. The battle tipped quickly. One pirate. Frigate detonated when a stray lightning arc kissed its reactor. The stolen heavy cruiser, realizing the trap, tried to slingshot out of the corridor, but its engines stuttered in the storm's grip. Sapphire Dynasty gunners crippled its starboard side. Boarding shuttles launched to secure the wounded prize, but Caleb warned Alara, "Their captain may scuttle the ship." The princess nodded. "Let us end this cleanly," she said, ordering. A focused strike on the cruiser's weapon cores. Twin bursts pierced hull, and the raider ship went dark. Drifting harmlessly, silence fell, except for the soft hum of victorious engines. Debris glittered against the magnetized sky, drifting like broken mirrors. Alara scanned the readouts. No major damage, minimal injuries. Relief loosened the knot in her chest. She turned to Caleb, tail giving a rare joyful flick. "We protected the colonies," she said. Caleb's answering smile was gentle but fierce. "And proved partnership works," he replied. On the bridge, every station erupted in applause. Varric allowed himself a small, genuine smile, his first in living memory. Queen Leora's voice carried over comes, filled with warmth. "Princess, crew, an honored human ally," she said. "Today you showed the strength of unity. Return home in pride." As the cruiser set course back to the capital dock, twin moons glowing behind, Elara felt hope rise bright within her. One more step remained, to turn this shared victory into lasting peace. Shoulders square, heart calm, she prepared to face the galaxy, not as a nervous princess, but as a leader with a friend at her side. 3 days after the storm battle, the Sapphire Dynasty cruiser glided into the royal harbor like a great silver swan. Repair crews on floating docks cheered as the ship passed, banners fluttering in soft wind. Inside the grand hall, lanterns, once cracked and scorched, now shone bright again. Pillars gleamed after careful polishing, yet tiny marks from blaster fire remained, kept on purpose as reminders of courage. Princess Elara stood at the center of the hall wearing a new sash of midnight blue. The little child's silver charm still rested at her shoulder, sparkling like a second star. She breathed slowly, calm and ready, while nobles, officers, and citizens filled curved balconies above. Caleb entered through the eastern arch, uniform pressed and armored dent proudly untended. When he reached Elara, he bowed from the waist, answered with her world's salute, fist over heart, tail held steady in quiet joy. A murmur of approval swept the room. Counselor Varric, now positioned beside the king, watched without the old stiffness in his eyes. He had spent the last nights reviewing battle logs and saw how often Caleb's quick thinking saved lives. Respect had replaced suspicion. Queen Leora rose first to speak, her voice clear as a crystal bell, carried through every level of the hall. She thanked engineers who tuned shields to the storm, medics who worked without pause, and farmers who kept food flowing even during alarms. Then she turned toward the human soldier. "Caleb Ramos," she said, "your bravery shields not only bodies, but the fragile hope that binds to great peoples." At a nod from Chief Engineer Tala, a servant stepped forward holding a small box carved from moonwood. Inside lay a metal shaped like the twin moons, a sapphire and an amber gem set side by side. Elara lifted the ribbon and placed it around Caleb's neck. The room erupted in applause. Light and joyful, Caleb spoke only a few words, his tone humble. "Any ship is only as strong as its crew," he said, eyes sweeping across alien and human faces alike. "This crew welcomed me from the first moment. Thank you for letting me serve with you." He stepped back, letting the praise settle on hundreds of others who deserved it. Lara felt her heart soar. She had feared that the gap between species was too wide, but here was living proof it could be crossed by a single respectful step. King Naren now announced the greater purpose of the gathering, under banners displaying entwined symbols of Earth. And Sapphire Dynasty, envoys from both cultures, prepared to sign the Star Accord, a treaty of mutual aid and shared knowledge. Tables draped in blue silk held 2 identical documents written in both languages, words simple, so no meaning could hide in flourishes. Queen Leora signed first, her elegant script steady. Admiral Cho, leader of the Earth fleet in this sector, signed next with calm confidence. As pens left paper, the hall's lanterns changed color, cycling through soft blues and greens, the dynasty signal for new beginnings. Yet, ceremony alone could not secure the future. So Elara stepped forward to share a plan born from long talks with Caleb, Tala, Varric, and dozens of deckhands. She spoke of a joint academy to be built on a neutral moon, where young cadets of both peoples would study piloting, medicine, and diplomacy side by side. She proposed mixed patrol crews to protect outer trade lanes and open experimental gardens that combined Earth crops with Sapphire Dynasty biotech. Her voice never wavered. She felt the calm strength learned during battle root deep inside her. Some nobles shifted, wary of change, but Elara pressed on gently. "Fear shrinks the sky," she said. "Trust lets it expand." She spread her hands, palms open like Caleb had done when they first met. Let us open the sky together. Applause rose again, stronger this time. Even those who doubted felt hope stir. With formalities done, music filled the hall's soft strings and gentle winds. Banquet tables rolled in, bearing dishes from both worlds, spiced root stew beside olive bread, crystal fruit alongside fresh berries. Laughter replaced tension as crew and nobles mingled. Chief Tala pulled Caleb aside to explain a new shield design inspired by the magnetic storm. Caleb listened like a curious student. Counselor Varric approached Alara, head bowed. Your Highness, he said quietly, I once measured composure and flawless protocol. You have shown me it is measured in steady choices under fire. I will serve your vision, Alara smiled, warmth erasing old distance. Together, Counselor, she said. Late in the evening, Alara slipped away to the observation deck where it had all begun. Stars stretched silent beyond crystal walls. Caleb joined her, carrying 2 cups of sweet root tea. They stood side by side, watching the gas giant's clouds swirl in peaceful patterns. Tomorrow, the real work starts, Caleb said, voice calm. Alara nodded. But the hardest bridge truss was built in the fire, she answered. Touched the silver charm at her shoulder. This reminds me that leaders serve the smallest voice before the loudest. Caleb followed her gaze and smiled. And this dent, he said, tapping his pauldron, reminds me that courage leaves. Marks worth keeping. Silence settled. Not awkward but comfortable, the quiet after storms when air feels new. Lights from the grand hall shimmered behind them, but here only starlight painted their faces. Alara thought back to the first moment she had seen Caleb. Step from his dropship helmet under his arm, smile kind yet unsure. So much had changed, yet one truth stayed. Dignity grows when shared. Footsteps approached. Queen Leora. Robes whispering joined them. She looked out the window at distant colonies, each a tiny speck of light. The galaxy watches us. She said softly, some will cheer, some will doubt, a few may fear. She touched her daughter's cheek. Show them composure, Alara. The princess rested her hand over her mother's, feeling a steady pulse of pride. And kindness, Alara added. Leora nodded. And kindness. When the queen departed, Caleb turned to Alara. I have a leave ship during academy construction. He said, Earth Command expects me home, but I asked to stay on loan here if that is welcome. Alara's tail flicked a joyful arc she no longer tried to hide. It is more than welcome, she replied. You will help teach the next generation what partnership looks like. The distant suns began to rise, casting faint gold across the gas giant. Shift alarms signaled a new day. Alara lifted her cup in a small toast. To calm hearts and brave marks, she said. Caleb touched his cup to hers. And to a sky wide enough for every voice, he answered. They stood there a moment longer, watching dawn pour over infinite black, painting promise across the stars. The galaxy might send storms against pirates, politics, unknown dangers, but the princess and the human soldier faced it unafraid. United by respect and tempered by battle, they would carry their quiet strength forward. Guiding to peoples along a shared path, no raider or doubt could break.